So Chris, and he brought a young boy, a 13-year-old young black boy from his area up there where he's from. And Chris took him in under his wing to kind of be dad to him. Chris is not a pedophile. He's on a registry, but he shouldn't be, okay? But he's not a pedophile. There's nothing dangerous about Chris Jones, okay? I've known him for 30 years. Anyway, he brought that boy with his mother's permission down here to visit DAL. They had a wonderful time. Then he wanted to stay the night. Paul Hansen and Chris and this boy Zaire went over to stay over there. Well, there's only one mattress on the floor. The boy was sleeping on a couch, but he got scared. He came in and said, Chris, can I stay with you? And Chris said, let's call your mother. So he called the mother right away and said, look, Zaire's scared. What should I do? She said, well, that's fine. He can stay in the same. It's a queen-size bed on the floor, both fully dressed, stayed on the bed. Paul came in the next morning and said, Chris, it doesn't really look good.
I was mad, Chris. I was mad at Chris because I got up. I said, Chris, what's he in your bed for? You got these charges. What the heck are you in bed with a kid for? Completely dressed.
But it was also the only bed in the house. It's
yeah,
not like
but anyway, I was just like, you couldn't convince me then that you should have done that.
And see, the way people say things, he was in bed with a child.
Yeah.
There's a way to make it sound worse than it is, you know.
I know, but
there's also a point.
But Chris has to remember.
Line of demarcation.
Don't get close to that fire.
But wait a minute, now, there's two things to consider here. That's Chris's decision and the kid's decision. How people here react to that is their decision. Okay? He's got a right to wrestle with the kid if he wants, and you got a right to say, I'm not getting around Chris. Okay. What do I do? The kid asked if he could stay with me. He was scared. I didn't do anything. See, some of those who have pedophilia on their brain think, oh, man, if a boy lays down with a man, it's got to be sex. No, it doesn't. You morons that are perverts, all you can think of is pedophilia. The problem's in your brain. There was no problem with Chris or Paul or the boy Zaire. The next day, Chris took the boy home.
I'm not going to lie on Chris. He did tell me when I first brought him around my family, he did tell me that he had charges, and he told me that they were not true.
Yeah.
And like I said, I feel like everybody deserves a second chance. I'm not going to lie on Chris. He did tell me when I first brought him around my family, he did tell me that he had charges, and he told me that they were not true.
Yeah.
And like I said, I feel like everybody deserves a second chance.
Right.
But when my son comes and tells me, you know, what he told me, basically, Zaire just told me that Chris touched him with a paper towel.
With a paper towel?
With a paper towel. So luckily, he wasn't touched.
What, like
physically?
On his private?
Yeah, on his penis. Yes, on his genital.
Oh my goodness.
But he came home and he was telling me about the trip.
Yeah.
That from Dinosaur Land. I didn't know what he was talking about.
Yeah.
And this some months ago, you know. But he told me how much of a great time he did have. And he was telling me this, that, and the third. And then when he got back, he stayed at Chris' mom's house with Chris.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he's so excited about this whole trip that he telling me everything.
Yeah.
So when he went to say, well, Chris touched me with a paper towel on, and I was like, what you mean with a paper towel? What I did was when my son told me this, I immediately called Chris.
Yeah.
And I told him, you are no longer allowed to be around my family, my home, or anything. If you come over here, I will be calling the police. Chris even brought a couple of males to my home with Zaire, and all they talked about was Zaire.
It's a long story. Chris will tell the whole story in about a month. Meanwhile, I love the Lord. I love the Bible. I've known Chris for 30 years. He is not guilty of what they accused him of. It's okay for him to come here, folks. It's fine. It's okay for him to come to your house. He didn't do anything wrong. He's not a dangerous man. He did not have any sex with Zaire. He's trying to be a dad to him. Why weren't you trying to be a dad to the kid? I take in kids all the time and try to help them here. That's what we're here for. Anyway, so yes, I get a little upset about the morons talking about Chris Jones being a pedophile. He's not, but he is on the list. I understand. So are thousands of other people. And he's safe. He's fine. And nothing happened. And Cindy, it was your house. Why didn't you say that? Because Paul was right there when it. Paul can't get through to Paul. He lives on a boat out in the Gulf of Mexico. He's hard to reach out there. But he called me yesterday and said, yeah, I want to come on the program. I'll help. So Paul's very willing. Paul J.J. Hansen Law at gmail.com. He'll say, Chris didn't do anything. Shut up. It's been, what, a year now? A year and a half? The boy's been home since the next day.
There's I don't know if you got the chance to see Mr. Truth Objective Reality. And remember, he's not an atheist. He's a hardcore young earth creationist Christian and quite respected in the community. He did a video where he showed off that there's been several accounts, not just the strip poker incident. And so people get this in context when they hear strip poker. Would you like to describe what that's all about that way? Because the people who've made websites, they got their own way of explaining it. Maybe it'd be better if they hear what you feel actually happened.
I was not there, obviously. It's in, I forget, North or South Carolina, where he was living with this family with 2 boys, and the dad got remarried, and they had got a 3rd son in the picture who was a little bit slow. The kids are now in their 30s and are very willing to, they would like it all to be dropped, but they're very willing to tell their side of the story. And Chris is going to get his case overturned, okay? And he's not guilty of anything. But the two 10, 11-year-olds, they were playing strip poker with each other, which is stupid, but they're 10 years old. The brain doesn't start to grow till they're 18. And so they kept asking Chris. Chris thought it was dumb, tried to get him to stop, but he just, what's he do? He's living with this family. And so they were just, you lose this hand, you take off a piece of clothes. They got down to their underwear, and it stopped. That was it. End of story. What on earth are people upset about? I think it's stupid, but kids do stupid stuff all the time. I've got a 10-year-old now. And my wife, my wife had a 17-year-old now that I inherited, so I'm loving being dad again. But kids do dumb stuff at 10. And there was nothing wrong, nothing immoral. Get your mind out of the gutter, you perverts. It's fine. Go ahead.
May I play a clip? It's only a couple minutes long of where TTOR talks about the allegations.
Yeah, how would TTO, I don't know who he is, but how would he know what happened?
He's got some kind of documentation. That's
okay.
That's what the issue is.
Well, I think Brett, I think it'd be, there were so many things brought up in your 10.5-hour program. Let's leave the Chris Jones thing alone until next month when he comes on and defends himself. And then we'll take all these questions, because I don't know. I can't answer the question. The boy is fine. He's home with his mother. He does not want to call in and be on any show. They want to be left alone. But Paul and Chris are going to try to get him, reluctantly, the mother or the son, to please say, hey, I'm here. I'm fine. I was never in danger. Shut up. But they're both kind of camera shy, and they don't want all this attention. So let's leave the Chris Jones thing out. Go to the next topic altogether, if you would.
Well, there is one more issue that we have to deal with on this, though, Kent, that's extremely serious, and it's one of the things I brought up in the video. I won't go and play TTOR's clip or anything like that. It does reveal that there's more than one issue besides the strip poker, though. That's
okay.
one of the
Again,